Okay, so let's look at labeling a diagram. So this is a reading question that comes up quite a bit, and it can seem a little bit daunting because it might show you a diagram or a plan or something that you just know nothing about, but it's not really testing your ability to or your knowledge of that topic. It's testing your ability to quickly understand the diagram and then look at the reading text and match up things with the reading text and the diagram. So not as complicated as you think. So this type of question tests your ability to understand a label, a diagram, or plan. There are three kinds of diagrams you might get: a technical drawing of a machine or invention, something from the natural world, or a design or plan. The skills that are being tested, first of all, ability to cope with unfamiliar concepts or processes. So this is actually being tested. Be aware that this is being tested. They are testing your ability to cope with unfamiliar scenario situations. So if you are the type of person, which many of you are, I call them oh my god people, every time you see something that is unusual or you don't fully understand, you're like, oh my god, I don't understand any of this. Do not react in that way. Just calmly look at it, understand it as much as you can, and then look at the text. Ability to appreciate the relationship between a text and diagram or plan, and testing your ability to locate the correct part of the text that contains the relevant or pertinent information. So really what they're doing is look at the diagram, understand that, locate where the correct answer is, then read the text, and then match up with the diagram or the plan. So let's look at some common problems that people have. Number one, focusing too much on the diagram and trying to understand everything about it. You're not going to be able to understand everything about it. So don't think that that's what your job is. Your job is not to understand everything, and if you see something that you don't understand, don't worry about it. Failing to locate the paragraphs that contain the information quickly, so you need to scan to find the information as quickly as possible. Writing the wrong number of words or spelling the word incorrectly. For some reason, this is a very common problem with this type of question, and you're throwing away easy marks if you do this. Getting stuck on one question and wasting time. If you are stuck and you can't find the correct answer, just guess what it is and move on. Do not sabotage the rest of your reading test over one difficult question. So here's some general advice to help you with those problems. Check how many words you're supposed to write. It will tell you in the question. In the example above, you can only write 1 or 2 words. If you write any more than this, you will lose marks. Remember that numbers count as 1 word, and hyphenated words like state of the art count as 1 word. Identify the type of word, so noun, verb, adjective you need, and this will help you find the correct answer and predict the correct answer. The answers do not always come in the same order that the paragraphs are in. So unlike other types of questions where you can follow along and follow exactly what is going on, you're going to have to look at the whole text for this one because they're not in the same order. Do the easiest questions first. You're more likely to get these correct. If you cannot find the answer to a difficult question, move on and come back later. Especially if you only need like a band 7 for reading. If you need a band 7 for reading, you don't have to get every single question correct. You only need to get every single question correct if you need a band 9. If you need a band 9, okay, you're probably operating at a very, very high level, so this won't be a problem for you. But if you only need a band 7 or a band 8, think strategically, think tactically. If you think tactically and strategically, you don't have to get all of them correct, so don't waste a lot of time on things that you're not going to find the answer to anyway. Try to predict the answer before you read the text. This will help you find the correct answer. So let's have a look at the strategy. So number one, check how many words you can write. Very, very, very important. Read the instructions. Number two, study the diagram and try to understand what is happening generally. Don't spend too much time doing this, okay? So you're not looking at the text first. What you are doing is you are looking at the diagram first. Don't spend too much time on this. Just look quickly to understand what is generally happening. On the diagram, highlight any keywords or labels, and then identify the type of words required to try to predict the answer. So again, you're not looking at the text yet. Steps 1 through 4, you're not looking at the text at all. In number 5, scan the text and identify where the information is located. So for number 5, you're not trying to find the correct answer, you're trying to find the location of the correct answer. So think about it this way. For the diagram, you're skimming the diagram. You're not looking at it in detail, you're just generally understanding what it is. Then you're scanning for the location of the correct answer. Then you are looking in more detail to find the correct answer. Then when you find the correct answer, put it in, but check spelling, make sure that it is all okay. So let's have a look at a real question to establish how to use this strategy in real life. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read the instructions. So questions 6 to 8, label the tunnels on the diagram below using the words from the box. Okay, so here are the words from the box. Write your answers in boxes 6 to 8 on your answer sheet. 6, 7, 8. Okay. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and just generally understand. So, cowpat, dung, there's a little, above here there's a glossary. So they're helping us out by giving us a definition. The droppings or excreta of animals. Basically what this is shit. Okay, so it is animal shit, animal dung. So there's different ways that you can say it. Dung, excreta, many different ways you can say that word. Number 2, cow pats. So cow pats, that's a different way of saying cow shit. The shit of cows. Droppings is another way of saying it, but there are many ways to say that. Alright, so we have a big cow pat here, big piece of lovely excrement from a cow, and then depth in centimeters below the surface. So these are underground tunnels, and these are how far they go down. Okay, don't need to worry too much about this. Dung beetle types: French, Mediterranean, Australian native, Spanish, South African ball roller. Okay, so these are the different types, so we have to match these to here. Okay, so now we're going to have to highlight any keywords. So these are all the keywords that we need to think about, and then we're going to predict what type of words they are. So French, Mediterranean, Australian native, so they're all types of beetle, so we know what those are. So these are what we're going to have to look for. Okay, so the key here really is the difference between these three. Okay, so 8 goes down to about 10 centimeters. 6 goes down to about 25 centimeters, and then this one goes down the deepest to about 30 centimeters. So this is what we're going to be looking at, because this is the difference between the three things. Now, excuse me, all of the questions are going to be different, but you're going to have to use your common sense. You're going to have to differentiate between three different things. What are the three things that are helping you differentiate are these here. So just using your common sense will be able to help you with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look for 10 centimeters. So up here, 30 centimeters, 20 centimeters. Okay, so we find 20 centimeters, we find 30 centimeters. So these two are going to be the easiest to do. So I'm going to do this one first, 30 centimeters. Some large species originating from France excavate tunnels to a depth of approximately 30 centimeters below the dung pad. France. French, Mediterranean, Australian, French. Okay, so quite easily we can put 7 as French. Originating from France, French. Okay, good. 20 centimeters. South African beetles dig narrow tunnels of approximately 20 centimeters below the surface of the pat. South African ball roller. So there's two different ones here. So we have to look for South African ball rollers. South African beaters. Some surface dwelling beetles, including cut perfectly shaped balls from the pot, which are rolled away and attached. So some surface dwelling. Surface dwelling means they live on the surface, including a South African species, cut perfectly shaped balls from the pot, which are rolled away. So South African rollers attached to the base of plants. South African ball roller, South African. So they're saying here that the South African ball roller stays on the surface. The normal South African one, 20 centimeters. 20 centimeters, 6. South African, that one. Okay, so we find our 20 centimeter and our 30 centimeter. Now we need to look around here. The shallowest tunnels. So shallowest. So you would need to know what the word shallow means. Shallow means not deep. All right, so in a swimming pool, you have the deep end, which is the place where that is very, very deep. And we have the shallow end, not deep. All right, it's shallow. That's where you can walk in the swimming pool. The deep end is where you can't walk. You can swim because it's too deep. So the shallowest tunnels belong to a much smaller Spanish species that buries dung in chambers that hang like fruit from the branches of a pear tree. Okay. Shallowest, 8. Spanish. Okay, so I put Spanish in there. So you can see that 2.5 centimeters long. Okay, so it's talking about something different there. So you can see this one was very easy to find. The French one was quite easy to find. This one was a little bit more difficult to find because you would have to differentiate between ball roller and a normal one. This one was a little bit more difficult because it didn't put 10 centimeters. But what they're doing there is they're getting you to interact. So the interaction between the diagram and the text. So you have to understand the diagram in order to find the correct answer. So if you didn't look at the diagram carefully enough and you didn't understand the difference between these three things, then you wouldn't be able to find the correct answer. So it's testing your ability to understand the diagram, but understand that the interaction between the diagram and the text. Okay? So, and also obviously vocabulary. All right, vocabulary would be very, very important here. For that one, so it would be 8. If you couldn't find the answer, you have two options. All right, so you can try and find the answer for 10 minutes, and that means you're going to get all of your other questions wrong. Or what you could do is go down here. You can take South African ball roller out. You've already dealt with them. French, you could take that one out. Then you could look for Spanish, Mediterranean, Australian. Have a quick look for those, see if it says anything, and then guess what it is and move on. Don't waste your time on something that is very, very, very difficult. You're not going to get all of them correct. So hopefully you find that interesting and you find that useful. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.